Hello, and welcome to the MIT 100K launch finale. My name is Tierno Silla, and I'm one of the managing directors of the MIT 100K this year, along with Sam Lambert and Claire Beskin. We're incredibly excited to have you join us from wherever you are in the world. In March, over 80 teams applied to the 100K launch competition. 30 of these teams made it to semifinals, where they received expert mentorship before pitching to a panel of judges. 8 semifinalists were shortlisted for the 2021 MIT 100K launch finale. This evening, 8 entrepreneurs will present their pitches and answer questions from a panel of distinguished judges. They will compete for the grand prize of $100,000. The runner-up will receive $25,000. All other finalists will receive $1,000 each. Tonight, we also have the honor of speaking with Payal Kadakia, founder and executive chairman of ClassPass, for our keynote interview. I'll now pass it over to Sam.
Thanks, Tierno. Before we jump in, we want to take the time to thank those who made this event possible. First, we want to give a big thank you to our sponsors for the season. We are incredibly grateful for their support, even during these uncertain times. The funding they provided enables us to have this competition tonight and continue with the MIT 100K virtually. In addition to their support, our sponsors serve as mentors and guides for our teams and for our organizing committee members. Thank you to our platinum sponsor, Akamai, to our gold sponsors, Goodwin, Morgan Lewis, and Wolf Greenfield, and to our silver sponsors, Sidan and Mintz. Thank you for everything you do to make the 100K a success. Also, to our judges and mentors, thank you. These people volunteer their time reviewing applications and working with teams to ensure that the competition is fair and valuable for all teams involved. We thank you for your time and commitment. And a special thank you to our 7 judges on tonight's panel: Clement Cazelot, Sherry Losberg, Jules Pieri, James Ree, Miriam Rivera, Karan Singh, and Elias Torres. Let me now hand it over to Claire.
Finally, we want to thank everyone on the MIT 100K organizing committee. Our team members invested countless hours to ensure that the 100K is a success, and without them, none of this would be possible. We also want to recognize our video production team at MIT, which has been so helpful as we've transitioned to this remote format. To all of our competitors tonight, we wish you the best of luck. And to our audience, thanks for tuning in. Please sit back and enjoy the show. We'd now like to introduce our MCs for the evening, Carly Chase and Scott Stern. Carly is an entrepreneur in residence at the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship, as well as a senior lecturer at MIT Sloan. At the Trust Center, she coaches and runs programs for MIT student entrepreneurs like MIT Delta V Accelerator and Start MIT. Carly also advises 2 early-stage startups and is the co-founder of Crab Walk, an education and coaching program that helps successful professionals own their career progression in the new era of work. Scott Stern is the David Sarnoff Professor in the Technological Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Strategic Management Group at MIT Sloan, and the Faculty Director of the Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship. He has worked widely with practitioners in bridging the gap between academic research and the practice of innovation and entrepreneurship, including launching the popular MIT elective Entrepreneurial Strategy and co-founding the MIT Regional Entrepreneurship Acceleration Program. Welcome, Scott and Carly. Over to you.
Thanks, Claire. As Claire said, my name is Carly Chase, and I will be your host this evening along with Scott Stern. This competition started over 30 years ago when a group of students approached Ed Roberts about the idea of living the MIT motto of Mensi Manus through a new startup competition. Ed was game and quickly helped the students raise the princely sum of $10,000, but that was enough to spur an explosion of student interest and engagement that continues, of course, to this day. Through the generosity of some key long-term sponsors, the 10K became the 50K, and now, of course, the 100K over time, and it has been such an honor to witness the growth and success of this entirely student-run initiative. The 100K is now not simply a one-evening event, but of course, a year-long journey that begins with a pitch competition in the fall, Accelerate in the winter, and now the launch competition that culminates this evening with 8 teams vying for the Robert P. Goldberg Grand Prize of $100,000. We continue that legacy tonight with 8 teams who are bringing MIT insight and drive to bring their startup to the stage. This is obviously a unique time as we continue confronting the challenges of COVID-19 and hear from teams in this online format.
It has been a long and worthwhile journey. More than 80 applicants from each and every of MIT's 5 schools participated in the first stage of the process, with 30 teams moving into the semifinals to push their ideas forward over the past month. 2 weeks ago, these semifinalists pitched online in front of live judges who selected the 8 who will join us this evening. Before we get started, let's give a big round of applause, virtual applause, to all the participants, to all the teams that participated in the competition throughout the year. We look forward to hearing much more from all of you in the future. Just kind of a little bit on the ground rules. Each team is going to have 4 minutes to present their pitch. They're going to be timed, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A with our esteemed panel of judges. The judges have already had a chance to dig in on the business plans for each startup, and we thank each of them for contributing their valuable time and wisdom to move the MIT entrepreneurial ecosystem forward. Carly and I are going to introduce them more fully throughout the evening. And I just wanted to say how delighted I am to be hosting here with Carly and having this opportunity. So without further ado, let's get to the pitches. Back to Carly.
Very exciting. Okay, so our first pitch comes from an MIT startup building tech-enabled solutions that ease the global direct-to-consumer operations for luxury and premium brands based in Africa. Joining us for the first presentation of the night is Igbogu Ukuku, co-founder of Azeki Road. So please take it away, Igbogu.
Okay, hello, my name is Obogu and we are Azeki Road. So I want to introduce you to Tayo, who is the founder and creative director of Corporate Culture, a premium menswear brand based and operating in Nigeria with international ambitions and our first customer. Now, Tayo, as long as with other African designers, even those with international recognition, are unable to capture the value that they create. This is because in spite of having the potential to be a top-selling international brand, Tayo lacks the infrastructure and support to break the cultural barriers and generate sustained direct demand globally. This matters for 2 reasons. The first being that this market is large, given the fact that this is a $5 billion market with over 100 brands in this space, and this is only the tip of the iceberg that we're seeking to break. In addition to this, larger European brands have historically and continue to leverage the various styles and aesthetics of these brands, proving that the styles and aesthetics from the continent, in addition with the means to connect directly with consumers, is a winning combination. Given this, our focus is essentially how might we enable brands like Tayo's to really capture the value that they create. And in order to do this, we're building a platform that facilitates the direct relationship between the brand and the consumer on their behalf, introducing the brand assistant. The digital brand assistant frees the brand, enable brands like Tayo to be more digitally native, and solves this challenge by first aggregating the various tools and data that Tayo would need in order to connect with consumers, tools of which he would have to figure out on his own, leverages machine learning to be able to help him understand his core customer and what drives brand love, and then ultimately empowers him with targeted recommendations on how to grow and scale his business with additional service to help him with execution. Now, in exchange for this service, we take 10% of revenues. And this is important because it allows us to do a few things. First, it allows us to align ourselves with the value that we create by our services, and allows us to build a true partnership with these brands, sharing the risk. And ultimately, it eases the expensive capital pressures that these founders already carry and makes us more accessible. Now, it's important to recognize that demand generation is the big problem, but is not the only problem. Hence, our ultimate vision is to expand our platform and leverage technology to provide solutions across the entire value chain when it comes to direct-to-consumer operations on behalf of these brands. Now, from the perspective of our target customer, it's important to note that we will be the only entity that will provide the genuine support that they need at the level of control that they desire. given the fact that one, we're focused on enabling their direct-to-consumer operations, and the only alternative is working with overcrowded marketplaces and e-retailers that limit the value that these brands can actually capture. Our team has a wealth of experience in consumer goods across the value chain, but more importantly, we have the personal connections, the insights, and the passion to really realize this vision. And in addition to working with Tayo and generating revenue with Tayo, we're in the process of onboarding 2 additional brands, both based in and operating in Ghana, including Duaba Serwa, who has been recently featured in Vanity Fair and Vogue Italia. And ultimately, what we want to do with the 100K is really focus on funding our continued product development of our digital brand assistant and ensure that we are able to realize the scale that we want, while also investing in pilots with our customers to really validate the value that we create, with the eye towards the future of being able to address the rest of the value chain. We are Azeki Road. We are where expression thrives. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on being first out the chute. Great job.
No
So, a
problem.
question: have you,
Go ahead, sorry.
is it question time?
Yes, yes,
Point?
it's question
So
time.
congratulations on great presentation for being first out the chute. Do you envision in terms of Azeki being at one point an end consumer facing brand with recognition, and to do that, would you think about aggregating demand and aggregating traffic to help your customers?
Our ultimate vision for the company is to really enable these brands to do that. So we see ourselves as the infrastructure to really make that process for brands to do that more easily. That's because ultimately we recognize the unique relationship that a given brand has to build with their core consumer base. And essentially us trying to pursue that aggregating the demand ourselves essentially puts us in the same position as other marketplaces and e-retailers, which we know that ultimately doesn't really lead to the value capture that we want to be able to deliver for these brands.
Okay.
I have a couple questions. This is Jules. Congratulations on finishing on time as well. I'm familiar with Powered by People, and I think of that as doing a part of what you do, but entirely for a wholesale customer. Is that correct?
In terms of, so also familiar with Powered by People, and essentially, yes, we're essentially trying to start doing the back end, but for their direct-to-consumer operations, yes.
And I think you said that customer acquisition be the killer benefit, and I'd like to understand how you expect to do that. Is it more like a HubSpot model where, okay, all these tools are out there and it's hard to figure them out and we're going to make it easy? Or is it some direct acquisition technology or source that you'd be using for the brands?
Yes, so going back to our product. So it's the former, with the added caveat that we're seeking to go beyond just reports and insights, but actually provide actual genuine support towards the management and execution of the activities required to interact and connect with consumers. So yes, we're aggregating the various tools that a brand would need and providing that singular source of truth that that's required to be able to understand consumers more in depth. And then on top of that, leverage the analytical power to not only provide targeted recommendations, but also actually genuine support with respect to either optimizing the online direct-to-consumer experience or providing insight and context and advisory on content and how to leverage content in order to really resonate with consumers. So aggregation, but also going beyond reports and insights and seeking to actually get into execution, which is really that genuine support piece that these brands really desire.
Which the first part would be relevant to any new direct-to-consumer brand, no matter where they originate. These things are hard to do. The second part, I think you're saying, is more the cultural translation and market mapping that might be hard to do from Africa. Correct? Is that correct?
Yes. So especially the last part, and with respect to understanding what core drivers, or in our case, like what we call, like, what are the core drivers of brand love that is easily translatable globally. And that's found really the foundational perspective that we have is that there are core things that will resonate with people way beyond what is typically assumed to be the target audience of these brands, and is really helping these brands uncover that and then activate against that in order to grow their business.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question.
I'll ask one real quick. Congrats again. Could you please describe a little bit more your unique differentiator, or a little bit more about your audiences? Like, who is it? Is it who will be the buyers outside of the African? Just describe me a little bit more your target audience.
And if I can just pile on, you know, Africa is 54, 55 different countries, and you haven't really differentiated a geographic focus. You're starting in West Africa. Can you just build on that a little bit?
Yeah, in terms of who these brands can target, they have a global audience because they have the potential to do so. So in terms of being able to, like, who specifically, it's helping them actually have the ability to connect with, whether that be a consumer here in Europe or even in Asia, who might have the taste for their designs, especially since we know that larger brands leverage that aesthetic. And in terms of the need, honestly, to focus on a region, we don't believe so. Ultimately, because of the fact that we recognize that this is a problem that's one throughout the continent. Two, the need to be able to, given the fact that we are focusing in particular on demand generation, and something that, again, as mentioned, all brands need, and we're really focused on wherever you are on the continent, we want to be able to enable you to capture the value that you were creating, recognizing since that's a universal problem, we want to be able to, like, open ourselves to address that.
Thank you. Just to keep it even, we're gonna stop the Q&A, and as everybody can see, this gets quite intense with our back and forth. But thank you to our judges and to Azeki Road. Great job.
Thank you.
So now we will turn, I will introduce a first speaker as our judges take a minute to introduce their scores and comments for Azeki Road that will ultimately help determine the final winner at the end of tonight. And so while the judges begin their deliberations, let me introduce our first judge, Sherry Lesberg. Sherry is an experienced entrepreneur and an active angel investor across emerging and frontier markets. She teaches at MIT about venture capital in the School of Engineering and emerging markets entrepreneurship at MIT Sloan. Sherry sits on a variety of boards and investment committees globally, sold her first startup to UBS, where it operates today as UBS Russia, and loves to see old students go out and change the world. Sherry holds a BA from Georgetown University and a JD from the University of Texas. Great to see you, and thanks so much for being here tonight, Sherry.
Howdy. Very, very good. Okay, hopefully, judges, you are now have entered your scores. We are now going to welcome our second team, Candolytics, a 3D analytics startup building digital solutions, making 3D data more accessible, intelligent, and impactful. I'll now hand it over to Clark Yuan, the co-founder of Candolytics. Take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3D data revolution is upon us. My name is Clark, and I'm a co-founder at Candolytics. We are a 3D data analytics startup building the software tools that will harness the power of this increasingly ubiquitous data. Our vision is to become the Palantir of 3D data. And to illustrate just one example of the pain point our solution is currently being applied to, I want you to imagine that you are a US Coast Guard officer, and your job is to board a suspected smuggling vessel to locate drugs or other illegal contraband. And all you're armed with are a tape measure, pen, and paper. You spend the next 2 to 3 days measuring every compartment of the ship before running some rough volumetric calculations to identify where structural anomalies might be located and used to hide the drugs that you're looking for. This process is dangerous, inaccurate, and incredibly inefficient. And the Coast Guard fails to stop over 91% of all drugs that flow into the US each year because of it. But it doesn't have to be this way. During our demo day with the Coast Guard this January, we demonstrated how Candolytics' browser-based 3D data software can help Coast Guard operators fully account for voids on board suspected vessels in hours, not days. Not only did our software provide fully dimensioned 3D models of the vessel in question, but our product's unique features also allowed operators to derive 2D engineering schematics from 3D point clouds, quickly annotate structural anomalies and share that intelligence across the fleet in near real time, and produce accurately measured cross-sections that significantly enhance spatial awareness. Whether it's digitally documenting ships, mapping terrain, or identifying art forgeries, our browser-based platform will allow a wide range of consumers to truly harness the power of 3D data. But now I want you to dream big about the market potential with us. In just the last couple of months, our team has secured a contract with the US Military Intelligence Agency, been awarded 2 R&D contracts from the US Air Force, is finalizing a commercial contract with a maritime engineering company, and have a paid pilot with the Coast Guard this summer. And while the market for 3D data is still evolving, Candolytics is taking a land and expand approach by serving intelligence and national security clients first before moving into commercial applications. The market potential for the government and commercial use cases that we're currently pursuing is just a fraction of the total addressable market. As an end-to-end solutions provider, our business model will benefit from 2 primary revenue streams: SaaS subscriptions for our commercial software and maintenance contracts for our government data management services. But what's really attractive about targeting the government as our go-to market is twofold. One, based on government contracts that we've already been awarded, Candolytics has the opportunity to become the sole source provider for the government's 3D data requirements. And 2, we will gain access to massive volumes of 3D data that will help us develop proprietary analytics and algorithms. And Candolytics is differentiated from our competitors. As Army intelligence officers and engineers, we understand how to design and tailor 3D data solutions for intelligence and tactical operations. While our competitors focus almost exclusively on back office engineering functions, Candolytics is developing a web-based platform that will provide near real-time accessibility and powerful analytical capabilities. This browser-based platform will not only revolutionize the way 3D data is implemented for tactical operations, but will also facilitate the widespread adoption of 3D data by commercial users. And we have the ideal team and partners to deliver this transformative solution. Many of our teammates, including myself, have served on the front lines of national security, and we have both the knowledge of what tactical products are currently needed today and the military network to help navigate government acquisitions. And as winners of the Pentagon's Defense Innovation Accelerator, we are formally partnered with the US Navy's preeminent 3D data research lab. But we need your support. At this juncture of our company's growth, Candolytics will absolutely soar with the support of the 100K. We will use the prize winnings to quickly build out our engineering team and prudently expand into untapped markets. What started out as nothing more than an idea 10 months ago has now flourished into a dedicated team, and we are on the brink of making 3D data accessible, intelligent, and impactful. Thank you very much.
Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Candolytics. Thank you, Clark, for a great presentation. And while our judges enter their scores and comments for Candolytics, we're going to meet the next one of our judges, Clem Cazelot. Clem Cazelot is the managing director of Techstars Boston, leading the expansion of one of the most impactful and founder-friendly startup accelerators in the world. And thank you, Clem, for that. It's just great work you're doing. Prior to the acquisition.
Scott, since you're speaking on me, can I stop you? And I believe we're having question back and forth with Candolytics right now.
Yeah, we're going to do that in just a second. So if it's okay, we're going to introduce you and then we'll do the Q&A if that's okay. Just to, I know we didn't do that the way the first time, but that's how the students set up the script this year, if that's okay with you, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna continue. Thank you so much. So prior to the acquisition, just 2 seconds more. Prior to the acquisition of his latest startup by Interlinks, Clement was CEO and co-founder of DocTracker that he grew until it was deployed to 99% of the Fortune 1000. And then he later served as vice president of technology for Interlinks until its acquisition by Synchronoss. And thank you, Clement, for being here and your enthusiasm. And so let me start with you, Clement, on that first question over to our team from Candolytics.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got extremely excited. Hi, everyone.
Sorry about that,
congratulations, and didn't want you to be shortchanged on all the questions. So many things to discuss about. You just shared that you have an incredible traction and interest in a space that is historically extremely long to get people excited, which is the government. Do you mind unpacking for us why are so many parts of the government excited to work with you at the pace like you're 10 months old? So why did they jump on the boat, no pun intended, that fast?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I think in order to think about the government market, you have to think about what's happening geopolitically around the world. And obviously one of the biggest challenges that you see all the time on the news is competition with China. And that has spurred the Pentagon to invest heavily in startups. So actually, Candolytics was born out of the Defense Innovation Accelerator, which is one of these incubators that the Pentagon has funded to bring entrepreneurs together, pair them with DoD laboratories, and help perhaps innovate technologies that can help national security down the road. So as partners with a U.S. Navy lab, we are officially part of the DoD innovation ecosystem, and we were able to leverage that network to get government contacts and government contracts, and which also helped us win our Air Force contracts as well.
Great.
This is awesome.
Quick technical question. You talked about browser experience. Why wouldn't this be more on devices like mobile, right? I'm assuming they're on the boat. Would that be more practical, or there's limitations? And also tell me more about LiDAR. Is like, are you giving them a LiDAR device to attach to the computer?
Yeah, Elias, for that question, I'm going to hand it over to our company CTO, James. James, take it away.
Yeah, Elias. So in terms of mobile devices, that is definitely the direction that we see LiDAR going. As we mentioned at the beginning, right, LiDAR is now integrated on the latest iPhones, and we believe that hardware and that capability will continue to become commoditized. However, currently, it's not quite at the stage where it's giving us the level of fidelity we need for some of these visualizations. And so right now we do provide the Coast Guard with a handheld LiDAR scanner. It's very easy to operate, single button operation, less than 4 pounds. So again, meets that tactical need. In terms of like the browser-based software, yes, because we are taking advantage or because we are converting this 3D data into browserable data that can be digested by the browser, it can be viewed on a mobile device. However, just kind of the disconnect between the scanner itself and the iPhone, for instance, is something that we're working towards.
Can I ask? I'm sorry, Elias, were you done?
Sorry, Sherry.
May I ask a question about dreaming big? So you have a well-defined beachhead market on the maritime side. So dream big and tell me, as you see that rapidly evolving larger 3D market, what do you see the next areas, and where do you ultimately see the sweet spot for Candolytics?
Yeah, Brian, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure thing. That's a great question, Sherry. We agree that the Coast Guard is an amazing first customer, and one of the major reasons it is because it straddles kind of this government use case on one hand, and also the commercial shipping use case in the private sector. And through our traction and credibility, as well as the introductions from the Coast Guard itself, we've already made progress talking to folks like the American Bureau of Shipping, as well as engineering firms that do marine-specific engineering, as well as naval architecture. One of the really exciting parts is that the American Bureau of Shipping, they conduct 90% of the commercial maritime shipping inspections in the US. And right now, they estimate that less than 1% of what they're doing is digitized. So pardon the pun, there's just an extremely wide blue ocean for us to make a splash in. And
you were waiting to use that. You were waiting. So good on you to not rely too much on all of your impressive military backgrounds to turn yourself into a government contractor too early on and be captive to a very different segment. So I think keeping that commercial piece front and center is a great way to build.
Great, we probably have time for one more question. Karen.
Thank you, and Sherry, I love that question, Brian. Great answer. Maybe just pulling on that thread further. I mean, the case study you had with the Coast Guard was clearly really compelling. What I don't fully understand is, what are you displacing, or who has incentives to keep what's already kind of contracted in place? I'd imagine many of these contracts are multiple year long. Can you just help me understand what's the alternative?
Karen, yeah, so the biggest challenge that we face, honestly, is just, because that's the way things have always been done. It's the year 2021 and the Coast Guard is still using a tape measure. And what we found out is that currently the Coast Guard boards ships with these toolboxes that cost $38,000. And they're all manual tools. It's like the tape measure, some hammers, a saw. And so they're boarding these ships with these tools, absolutely no digital technology. But really what we're trying to do is create the momentum for the Coast Guard senior leaders to start adopting technology and started training the Coast Guard operators to really get familiar and comfortable with using a LiDAR scanner instead of a tape measure. So that's what we're fighting.
Great, thank you so much. And Carly, I think we're on to, thank you so much. And thank you, Candolytics. Great job.
Thank you. And Scott, we were asked to give the judges another 30 seconds just to write down their thoughts. So I thought maybe you and I can promote some of our classes that are going to come up in the fall, since I know we have an attentive student audience here. And you're on mute, Scott.
So we are so excited we know there's a big group out there, and we're really delighted. One of the things that we're so looking forward to as MIT comes back to campus is seeing you all in New Enterprises 15390. Carly, I don't know if you, right, in 15911, I'm actually going to be teaching in the fall entrepreneurial strategy. Carly?
For all of these startup teams out there that are returning to campus in the fall, I teach 15378, which is an advanced entrepreneurship class that we effectively call Get Stuff Done. Would love to see lots of applications for that, and you can find more information on the Trust Center website. And then I'll promote Delta V Demo Day, because it's one of the other big events in entrepreneurship, one of the bigger days of the year, which will be September 10th. So we hope that it'll be in person in Kresge Auditorium, but we'll definitely have a lot of a way for everybody to engage virtually if you can't make it to campus. So lots of exciting things on the horizon. But how are judges doing? Looks like we're going to keep moving.
Great.
All right, so now let's welcome our third team, Mach 9 Robotics, or Mach 9 Robotics, a remote sensing startup that is using machine learning to improve imaging of subsurface infrastructure. CEO Alexander Baikovich will be presenting tonight, so please take it away, Alexander.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Baikovich. I'm the co-founder of Mach 9 Robotics, and we're helping you look at what's underground right now by creating the Google Maps for subsurface information. Utilities keep cities running, but what's surprising is that in most cases, the condition and even position of subsurface utilities is completely unknown. This lack of information have cost people their lives and led to billions of dollars in financial losses. The solution to this is subsurface mapping, which is unfortunately slow, inaccurate, expensive, dangerous, and just plain hard. We introduced Mach 9 Robotics. We're building intelligent mapping software to make subsurface mapping faster, cheaper, and more accurate. And essentially, we do this by streamlining subsurface mapping to create digital twins of underground assets. We're making subsurface mapping as easy as driving a car through a city on a normal day, not like Boston right after a Red Sox game. We found two complementary solutions to the subsurface mapping problem, the first of which is M1. We learned by speaking to over 200 people in this space that the state of the art in utility locating is error prone, and the best visualization available is currently painting lines on the ground. We're building M1 in particular, our first product, which is an intelligent software visualization tool to help utility locators interpret field data and save their results directly to the cloud for future reference, that your results live forever. So from M1, we're building M2, a complementary solution, and we learned that surveying for large utility design projects often involve incredibly intense expert data interpretation, which can take months to go from data to deliverable. We're building M2 to simplify large-scale surveys and help civil engineers design cost-effective designs using field-collected data sets. So M1 is simplifying subsurface mapping through automatically interpreting radar data. We built a system that performs this detection in real time and on the edge. In this demonstration, we're able to locate utilities that keep a college campus running every single day and represents just being one step closer to analyzing utilities at scale. But we're creating geospatial post-processing software that just makes sense and is intuitive. We create 3D models of the surface environment where we can overlay ground-penetrating radar data for interpretation. We can then show a digital twin of utilities identified by the Mach 9 system. Our software then integrates with commonly used CAD and GIS platforms for very simple integration into our customers' existing workflows. We're disrupting the technically stagnant subsurface mapping equipment market. In the future, we definitely aim to provide information to companies ranging from agriculture and mining to disrupt the over $90 billion subsurface inspection information market. Our competition builds great hardware and software, but no one is addressing how to combine surface and subsurface information to inspect utilities at scale. In fact, we've had several OEMs reach out to us to build them better software. definitely what we find with speaking to practitioners is that some people would make multi-million-dollar decisions to just change to a different OEM to get marginally better software. We're a team of MIT and Carnegie Mellon technologists driven to make cities safer, smarter, and greener. I'm joined by my awesome co-founders. I started working with Charles a few years back when we were at SpaceX, and I've been working with Howen and Josh on numerous industrial projects in the Robotics Institute. We're equipped and the right people to solve huge problems in the infrastructure inspection space. Our awesome advisors have helped take us to where we are today and are continuing to help us grow. But we're moving Mach 9 fast. We're in negotiations with the nation's largest utility locating company for a software engineering contract. We're acquiring tons of relevant data. We've already acquired over $250,000 of equipment to construct a mobile mapping proof of concept, and we're turning LOIs into actual sales this upcoming year. We thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, or referrals, please feel free to reach out to us at info@mach9.co and help us prevent tomorrow's next big infrastructure failure today. Thanks so much.
Nice job, Alexander. Right on the money. I'm going to throw it to Miriam Rivera for the first question.
Hi, Alexander. I'm wondering how you chose the utilities as a customer as opposed to private construction that might be easier to sell into, and whether or not you have members of your team that are used to doing government sales.
Yeah, certainly lots of interesting government opportunities, but targeting particularly civil engineering firms like AECOM and Fluor that make a lot of these big design decisions. We're trying to change the design, bid, build process of the construction industry in the first place. So if we create really good designs and can predict exactly what the costs will be, we can effectively change this broken industry and prevent projects from going tens of millions of dollars over budget each year.
Okay, when you said utilities, I did not get that you were actually going after those people.
Yeah, the people kind of implementing a lot of these design choices, trying to find the structural failures and trying to make the larger changes, for sure.
I think you're charging too little.
Yeah.
150,000 contract, you should charge more for that.
That is the phase one of the contract. It's actually going to convert to about a $4 million purchase order. So that's for just NRE in full. So that's just for us to build the product.
But highlight that, because that's a very important thing for investors, right? That you have, path to a $4 million contract.
For sure.
Can you talk about the founding insight? Like, how did you guys get here working on this business? And that's a little bit about your backgrounds too.
Yeah. So in 2019, when I was working with Charles at SpaceX, I was simultaneously speaking with people at the Boring Company, and I was fascinated by positioning tunnel boring machines underground. Then spent a long time, won a NASA Space Technology Research Fellowship to understand the technology here, spoke with over 200 people in agriculture, mining, surveying, utilities, basically anywhere that things underground matter. And then kind of a few months ago, really converged on some of these really key pain points that we're seeing in the civil engineering space. And then, actually creating this company and moving really fast in a direction to really change the way people look at this type of information.
How fragmented is the civil engineering market? And this is a municipal, state level, by city, by town. So just talk about the go-to-market. How big a sales force? How are you going to approach building your reputation and brand?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely one of our approaches is to work with local subsurface utility engineering firms that have already great relationships with a lot of civil engineering firms. So they're often contracting between each other to acquire the information for a design project. So we create really interesting relationships with these organizations by running small paid proof of concept trials to show the civil engineering company, and typically their partner, which is some utility company, the value of the visualization interface that we produce, as well as the automated interpretation and speeding up this process to get deliverables really quickly. Our goal is for, at the end of the day, our customers are like, wow, that was really fast. And that's exactly the kind of emotion that we want to see with the type of results that we're able to produce.
But is this a national sales effort? Or are you focused on a few states in the beginning? Like how are you going to define market share?
Yeah, looking at certainly a lot of these large civil engineering firms. So we define this as firms with greater than 250 civil engineers as a part of them. They have national reach. So they have projects typically going on in most states and in some cases, additional countries. So definitely targeting kind of these use cases, just given that there is such a large market there as well.
Alexander, can you maybe just to the question earlier around pricing, and it sounds like you're creating a ton of value here and have some upside to charge for that.
Yeah.
The $4 million contract you were describing, what's the structure for that? Is that based on like seats or licenses or what? And how does that, is there upside within an existing contract?
Yeah, exactly. So we typically follow a B2B SaaS model. There's a baseline software installation fee, and then we charge a premium for like more interesting service-oriented automated features. So definitely that's a recurring form of revenue and just kind of a baseline way to generate revenue for each license, each radar, or each unit that is kind of being worked with in the first place.
Could I ask about all of the legacy players, the big, fat, rich legacy players that you will be disrupting, and your strategy to be able to diffuse all the incentives they have to see you fail?
Yeah, I definitely think that we're trying to create positives across the market as well. Like we're helping the self-service utility engineers get more work, and we're helping the civil engineering companies get this faster and cheaper. So overall, like what we see is we're not going to kind of come into the market and destroy subsurface utility engineers like livelihood. Definitely our goal is to empower them and make them more effective. So I don't see particularly a segment of the market that is going to be very, very upset about kind of the technology that we're producing and enabling others to do really interesting work.
So in design, bid, build, there's lots of folks who have lots of vested interests around the bid piece of that. And as I understand, you'd like to blow it up.
Yeah, we'd like to make sure that numbers are typically put on the accurate form so that projects can really go on budget. But yeah, definitely agreed and understood.
Thanks so much, Team Mach 9. So now we'll give our judges another minute to record their scores and comments while we meet another member of our star-studded judging team, Miriam Rivera. Miriam is a co-founder and managing director of Ulu Ventures, a top seed stage venture fund in Silicon Valley focused on IT startups. Previously, Miriam was a vice president and deputy general counsel at Google, joining as the second attorney. Her work to simplify contracts helped Google scale from 85 million to 10 billion in 5 years. Miriam earned a BA, an MA, and a JD MBA degrees from Stanford, was a trustee at the university, and has been honored with the Stanford Medal, awarded to fewer than 1% of alumni. Miriam is on the investment committee of Acumen Fund America, is a Kauffman Foundation board member, and an advisor to the Launch with GS Advisory Council, a Goldman Sachs initiative to reduce the investing gap for Black and Latinx founders. Wonderful to have you here, Miriam. Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Okay. We are now on to our fourth team, Osmosis, a team dedicated to clean membrane technology for chemical separations in the chemical industry. Over to you, Francesco Benedetti from Osmosis.
Thank you so much. 15% of the world energy is wasted on inefficient chemical separations. 15%. And this is because we still rely on century-old technologies to perform these separations that are critical for the chemical and energy infrastructure. How many times have you seen a chemical plant like this one? Maybe driving on the highway. They are literally everywhere, which makes this one of the greatest challenges for our society of this century, but also one of the greatest opportunities for companies that can bring innovation in this space. At Osmosis, our mission is to eliminate the energy waste with efficient separation technology, reducing production costs for our customers and CO2 emissions for the environment. Traditional separations are very effective, but at the same time, extremely inefficient. And this is because they still require heat to make the separation happen. Membrane technologies completely change the approach to perform separations because they don't require heat and they operate as molecular filters to separate molecules from one another. But the problem with traditional membranes is their poor separation performance that leads to very high operating cost and very low adoption. At Osmosis, we developed a material platform that checks all the boxes. We've been able to completely redesign the materials that these membranes are made of, lowering the energy consumption to a minimum and generating unprecedented performance that make Osmosis technologies the clear choice for the future of separation. Our market opportunity is huge, and we target the gas and vapor separation market that is worth more than $10 billion. And we're gonna start with natural gas and renewable gas processing, because by replacing existing technology with our technology, we can reduce product loss by 85%, generating extra fuel that can power 7 million additional houses in the United States for 1 year. But this is just the beginning, because we have a clear value proposition for oxygen and nitrogen generation, hydrogen purification, and carbon capture. Our initial product is going to be a compact membrane module. There is a key element of production platform like this one. And because our innovation come in this simple selective layer that we're going to introduce, we can fit into existing infrastructure, which makes it easy to replace existing technologies out there. And this creates an opportunity for a pay-as-you-go model, which basically cuts the initial upfront cost from our customers, generating continuous revenue for us. Our standard customer is going to be a 1 billion standard cubic feet per day natural gas plant, and there's more than 100 in the United States. And for each of them, we can reduce operating costs by up to $50 million per year, eliminating at the same time 1 million tons of CO2 every year. And by charging just 10% of the value we can create, we can generate a huge revenue for our company and also maintain great margin. Our team is uniquely positioned to meet the challenge from the molecular design to the industrial processes. And we're really excited to welcome new members that share our vision and want to meet our challenge and basically accomplish our mission. We started our journey in 2018, achieving unprecedented separation performance at lab scale. We patented our technology to secure our innovation, and we interviewed more than 50 customers to validate our technology. And we have early traction. By winning the under K price competition, we're going to purchase a key piece of equipment that we're going to use to scale up and raise our pre-seed, that we're going to use to build industrial prototype modules that eventually will be implemented at the customer pilot plant to finally change and transform the way chemical separations are performed. The time is now. We're ready to meet the challenge. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Team Osmosis. And thank you, Francesco. Well, let's begin our Q&A period with Elias Torres.
Congratulations, well done, timely. Sounds really exciting, lots of potential. Just give me a little bit more concrete details on where you are in the process. Since you have a patent, do you have a prototype built that verifies, that validates this, or you're going to build it?
Yes, thanks for the question. So we've been able, at MIT, we're very lucky to have extremely good testing capabilities. So we created a lab prototype, and we've been able to test it in realistic industrial environment, which means high pressure, variable temperature, and also compositions that are similar to the gas streams that we're going to deal with in the real world. So we know the performance is there, and we tested it in realistic environments.
And the other thing is that I'm in B2B, right? But it's like people buy for 3 reasons, right? One is they buy to save money, to make money, or for compliance reasons, right? And so the problem when you sell a product that is to reduce cost is that the customer is going to ask you next year, how are you going to reduce more costs, right? So what is the model for really creating a subscription? Is it because they have to buy more filters?
So essentially the subscription model is that we'll guarantee that our product would work. And so as they save money over time, we would actually take a percentage of their savings as our revenue. And so as they're using this product and saving them energy over time, then about 10% of that savings will be our revenue.
Can I follow up on Elias' good question and say, first of all, nice pitch, a nicely framed value proposition. And so the subscription model, I just wanted to make sure that, so this is not my field, is in fact this already familiar? Is this a standard way of doing business? For your economic customer, is this, are you going to have to educate them? Are you going to be the only component that actually has a subscription basis? And or is this in fact common in this sector?
So in the chemical and petrochemical industry, both models exist where you have a subscription-based model and customers pay as your product is working. And then there are also other models where you sell the product to the customer directly. We are choosing the subscription-based model in order to alleviate upfront capital costs for our customers, because we know that a lot of these companies, they want to make sure that their plan is working, and it's hard to ask for them to invest a lot of upfront capital costs on a new product. So this is a way for us to, if we are confident that our product will work, so this is a way for us to help them alleviate upfront costs, so they will be willing to adopt our technology.
I just want to push a little further on Sherry's question. I think I understood from your deck that essentially they're fitting in with the frameworks of the companies like Air Products, which provide essentially, if I think about it, as the frame or structure for the membranes. Is that correct, or do I have that wrong?
Yeah, so these companies already, or a certain part of the market already implements membrane technologies, and they come in as these modules, and you can essentially insert a new module that would have our technology in it in order to implement it in the market. So that's how we would fit into the existing infrastructure.
Just a quick second question. With the upcoming infrastructure funding, you would seem to be a perfect candidate for government grants and partnership. Is this something on your radar?
Absolutely. So kind of to follow up on Elias' question as well, you mentioned kind of compliance, and government regulations are something that reducing emissions, also building plants for renewable natural gas, as well as potentially carbon capture, are things that are going to be huge for us. And we have the value proposition to target those applications.
So congratulations again, like so many great elements. So the beauty of material science and chemical engineering is it's possible that it won't work. So how far ahead are you, like in all the testing, to know like this is something that is feasible in this first market, and how much time will it take to have these first deployments?
Yeah, so in terms of feasibility, even though that these are new materials, but industry is comfortable with working these types of materials. And even though this exact material hasn't been made before, these types of reactions are already made already done in industry. So we can really leverage the existing knowledge and know-how in industry to really push our products forward.
Could you talk about your revenue model where you're going to try to take part of this cost savings, and how long it will take you to recover the cost of your investment in that installation?
So basically, within a year and a half, we will recover the cost of our installation. And we expect that these membranes will last 5 years because of the chemical stability.
Great. Thank you, Osmosis. Our 5 minutes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great Q&A. And while our judges put in their comments for this startup, let's meet another one of our judges, Elias Torres. Elias is a co-founder and CTO of Drift, a conversational marketing and sales platform with over 400 people today. He was previously served as the VP of engineering at HubSpot, a great company, and helped grow their, also Drift is, and helped grow their revenue to $100 million after the acquisition of his previous company, Performable. He was also the VP of engineering at Lookery and also at IBM. He has been widely featured within the entrepreneurial community, including lots of passion about building winning teams, a community activist focusing on supporting Latinx entrepreneurs across the US, and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and TechCrunch and Entrepreneur. So thank you so much, Elias. I'm hoping that everybody has had their chance to write in their scores, and I'll turn it back to Carly.
Excellent. Thank you, team, and thank you, judges. We will now turn to our 5th finalist for the evening, Synthera Health, a team pioneering an integrated solution for iron deficiency and anemia. Heather Fraser is the founder and CEO of Synthera, and I'm excited to introduce her. Please take it away, Heather.
Hi, I'm not sure because we were brought up. I thought it was Resolute. It's okay, don't worry.
Can you see our screen?
Yeah, hi there. Hi. Hello, I'm not sure if there was a mix-up in order. We're actually Team Resolute, so I'm not sure if we were supposed to present or you wanted the Synthera Health.
That's okay, Resolute, go ahead. We can go ahead with you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, right, great, thank you. Hello, everyone. We're Team Resolute. We make skincare backed by science, and we strive to create sunscreen for all complexions. Do you know that 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer by the age of 70? And with the people of color suffer the most severe cases. Skin cancer can affect anyone, regardless of your age, gender, or race. And sun-caused premature aging is another top-of-mind concern. The New England Journal of Medicine published this infamous photo demonstrating the effect of 28 years of sun damage. So you can see why wearing daily sunscreen is recommended by dermatologists. Meet Michelle. She knows the importance of wearing sunscreen. However, her options are limited for a good-looking and a safe sunscreen. A study in 2020 revealed that women of color, 69% of them, cannot find proper skincare product to match their skin type. Traditional mineral sunscreen carries a white cast, and tinted formulation really cater to a darker skin tone at any high SPF. Furthermore, the chemical filters used in sunscreen washed away in the ocean can lead to coral bleaching and decreased fishing population. Another survey in 2018 showed that women of color spend up to 9 times more on beauty products than white women. Tinted sunscreen are hard to make, and some brands have attempted to use nano zinc oxide. But research have shown potential hazard. There is regulatory and consumer pressure to move away from any nanoparticles. Uniquely, Resolute have a patent-pending technology that positions us to solve these problems. You can see some of our prototype of intrinsically tinted SPF active, maintaining its efficacy against UVA and B. Our process is water-based, use over 80% less energy than the current state-of-the-art process, and produce a strictly non-nano product. Furthermore, the morphology of zinc oxide coordinate water greater than the wood-side structure from the standard methodology, yielding an organic sunscreen that feels great on your skin. Our machine learning empowered digital concierge would help the users correctly identify their skin tone and recommend personalized skincare product routines. Beauty is a $511 billion industry with skincare market for about $150 billion of that. Sunscreen alone is a $14.5 billion market ripe for innovation. We're seeing an increased demand for organic and natural products, leading to the fast growth of clean beauty. We're going to launch with a direct-to-consumer model, connecting all relevant outlets with a unified message. Our consumer will enjoy eco-friendly packaging, option for subscription saving, and our digital concierge to engage. In parallel, we'll also partner with major retail outlets, such as Sephora, Macy, among others. We can develop an organic tinted sunscreen with a wide range of shades using strictly non-nano zinc oxide particles and fewer ingredients. It enables our consumer to be uncompromising between an elegant natural look and safe ingredients. Our objective is to position Resolute as the best inclusive options for all skin tones. This early sample shows we're well on our way. We want to produce a sample with 5-color demo to introduce our brand, and then expand to a full 42 inclusive offerings. To achieve that, the 100K would allow us to optimize our formulation, scale up our process, establish a marketing and logistics strategy, or creating an online buzz. And to bring this revolutionary product to the hands and faces of those who need them, our team Resolute. This women-led and BIPOC inclusive team bring together a diverse group of individuals, combine depths of experiences to create a perfect blend of science and industry. Resolute is determined to make sunscreen for everyone. We are Resolute. Thank you.
Fantastic job, Sophie. Thanks so much. And I'm going to throw it to Karan for our first question.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Carly. Sophie, great presentation. Thanks for rolling with the changes there. Resilience and adaptability is such an important part of entrepreneurship. So thanks for jumping in and be ready. I would love to understand a little bit more about your pricing strategy. So it sounds like you're going to go in a direct DTC model. Can you help me understand sort of, are you pricing this as a premium product? How does this compare to maybe a standard CPG, sunscreen product? Could you give me a better sense for how you compare?
Yeah, so we want to position ourselves as a premium product. So we're positioned somewhere between about $40. And we want to make it relatively affordable, but still, I guess, pass the message about the premiumness of the process, because we want to make sure that the product quality is good and use the safest ingredients as well. And based on our market research so far, the price range is well within, the premium, so-called premium sunscreen offering in the market.
Just a quick follow-up, really helpful. It sounds like, so there's an upfront price and then there's an ongoing subscription once you've determined what's the right formulation of the cream. Is that the idea?
Correct. So the initial, because it's direct to consumer, the subscription model is really to encourage repeat purchases, and we'll also offer a discount or royalty structure where if you have a subscription model, you would have a 5 to 10% discount. And the other reason for this is we want to encourage our users to apply sunscreen daily. So by continuously, replenish their supply, they will have a sufficient supply to, get the habit of using their sunscreen daily. Yeah.
May I ask a question about sort of the basic technology? Because it seems like there's a fundamental question of if we are looking to distribute as broadly as possible, does it in fact some kind of licensing arrangement rather than creating a premium DTC standalone product makes sense, sort of on one side. And then the other is, well, okay, sunscreen is a lumpy purchase in terms of subscription, I think is a difficult sell. And so is there a broader product range that you are anticipating, including cosmetics or more full body kinds of products?
Absolutely, that's a great question. I will let my co-founder John to answer your technical question, and then we can address the second part. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is John. Yeah, we discovered that this is the best use case for our product, the zinc technology that we had during an I-Corps program. We interviewed 175 people, and we realized that sunscreen is really our beachhead market, pun intended. And because there's so many things that we can do in skincare, zinc is ubiquitous in so many products. But this one here is that the greatest need from the formulators and the marketing people and the sales of these cosmetics companies, this is what they need the most to be able to get us in the industry. And once we prove our technology, we can expand to many other applications. And there's not time to go into what we have, but there's plenty of things we can do.
Yeah, and to address your question about licensing versus producing house, I think we want to make sure that the product we offer to our consumers really have high quality control. And there are a lot of science that actually go into the formulation of how to, put different ingredients together. So that is why we wanted to develop the product in-house. And for, I think the second question that you had about offering a more broader, offering. We started with the sunscreen because that is where we think we have the most leverage, but we definitely wanted to expand into a more comprehensive skincare, portfolio, because skincare itself is a journey and sunscreen is just part of that. And we want to make sure we offer a skincare portfolio that is backed by science, but meet various needs for our consumers. So that is definitely down in the road, 2 or 5 years.
Thank you.
Could you address your go-to-market in terms of how you're going to access this diverse customer base?
Absolutely. So we have basically multiple prongs for that. So we definitely leverage heavily on the social media with influencers, and the other one is organic growth, where we will engage with our consumers and through their word of mouth. And the third of that is paid SEO search. We're identifying channels where a consumer online looking for information, trying to find the brand, and then we'll optimize our SEO and message so that we can reach our potential consumers as well.
On the DTC side, if you don't have a physical presence, can you talk through a bit about the sampling and shading in terms of testing and trials of getting the skin color right? And then I get a little bit worried sometimes about SKU proliferation, having looked at a couple of hosiery businesses. So maybe talk a bit about that. I think that's what Cheryl's getting to, about the licensing and the technology, a bit about putting the working capital on someone else's books. So
absolutely. Yeah. Peru, do you want to address that question, please?
Definitely. So in terms of having the right product match, especially if someone isn't picking the product up in person at a retail store, this is why we are interested in developing a web app side by side. And this app would ask users to upload a selfie with a calibration template, which would simply be a slip of paper with some shades on it. And this would act as a control for different lighting or camera conditions. And that would be able to match users and their skin tone to the best product tint.
I'm going to cut us off here just as we have to keep moving. But thank you again so much, team. What a fantastic and diverse team you guys have of talented folks from all across campus. So while our judges take time to score this team, we will meet our next judge. Karan Singh. Karan is the co-founder and COO of Ginger, where he leads the company's clinical strategy and daily operations. Ginger is an on-demand mental health company providing around-the-clock access to emotional support via coaching, therapy, and psychiatry, serving over 10 million customers across 40 countries. He has over 13 years of experience in the healthcare industry, consulting with biopharma clients, commercializing data analytics, and establishing research partnerships with academic medical centers. A leader in the digital health community, Karan is a frequent speaker about entrepreneurship, health innovation, and new models of care. He has also served as a scholar at the Aspen Institute, delivered keynotes at the Public Health Institute and the National Institute of Mental Health, and was recognized as a rising star in healthcare by LinkedIn's Next Wave. He has a BA and BS in Economics and Business Administration from UC Berkeley and an MBA from MIT Sloan, with a fellowship in entrepreneurship from our friends at the MIT Legatum Center for Development. Karan has also attended the Harvard Medical School MIT Health Science and Technology program. And thank you so much for being here and for your fantastic questions. And Scott, I think we're now ready for Synthera.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Karan, for all that you do for the ecosystem, as well as all of our other judges. So we're now going to turn to our sixth finalist for the evening, thanks again to Sophie for being on the spot there, given the changeover. But we're going to turn to our sixth finalist for the evening, Synthera Health, a team pioneering an integrated solution for iron deficiency and anemia. Heather Frazier is the founder and CEO. Take it away, Heather.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here. This is Paula Finlay, an elite professional triathlete. Paula was the favorite to win in the 2012 London Olympics. Instead, she was almost unable to finish the race and ended up being dead last. After the race, blood tests revealed she had severe iron deficiency anemia. Paula's experience isn't surprising. When people don't have enough iron, they're unable to make sufficient hemoglobin, which carries oxygen throughout the body. Unfortunately, Paula isn't alone. Athletes at all levels have an increased risk for iron deficiency. Studies have shown that approximately 40% of female athletes and 17% of male athletes have iron deficiency, leading to decreased performance and increased recovery time. Beyond athletes, iron deficiency is very common in many different patient populations. Globally, 2 billion people have iron deficiency, including approximately 400 million people in developed countries. In the US alone, 2.2 million people per year see their doctor for anemia care. Iron deficiency impacts multiple systems in the body, causing extreme fatigue and chest pain, to developmental delays in children, preterm delivery, and mortality. There is still such a significant unmet need because the current standard of care is fragmented and cumbersome. For treatment, dosing is one size fits all and not tailored to a patient's unique health needs, resulting in potentially too much or too little iron. Treatments often cause significant GI side effects, leading many patients not to try or to discontinue therapy. There are also many different types of iron in different dosages and often with additional ingredients that leave many patients confused. Self-monitoring of blood iron levels is often unpleasant and time-consuming, with test results and treatment decisions often received days later. This approach clearly isn't working for patients. Our goal is to transform OTC anemia care. To do this, we have three distinct aspects to our solution that work closely together. First is the app. Our app guides users to the best available supplement, personalizes their dose based on their unique needs, reminds them to take their supplement, helps them track their symptoms, and provides education. Second is the personalized treatment. We mail customers a personalized iron supplement, adjusting it as necessary as their needs change. Third is an easy blood iron monitoring at home. We provide a minimally invasive, paper-based diagnostic that provides the user with a quick and accurate reading of their blood iron levels that is then uploaded into the app by the user, taking a picture of their result. This information is used by the algorithm, in addition to other health and lifestyle information, to recommend the most appropriate dose. Together, these components provide a closed-loop solution to OTC anemia care, empowering patients to seamlessly treat and monitor their own condition. There are multiple distinct patient populations with this disease, including athletes, women, the elderly, and children, representing a total addressable market of 35 billion. Our solution has a robust recurring revenue model. The core offering provides the complete solution of the app, personalized treatment, and convenient blood tests. Our premium offering helps patients further personalize their treatment by including additional important health data. We have started building our solution and are currently running a pilot program with anemic athletes and developing the MVP for our paper-based diagnostic in the lab. Our goals for the app are to complete the athlete pilot program and demonstrate improved clinical outcomes. And our goals for the blood test are to complete the MVP design and validate our test against venous blood. Funds from this competition will be used to support these goals and future fundraising efforts. I'm Heather Frazier, founder and CEO of Synthera Health. I have over 20 years of experience in healthcare, life sciences, and information technology, and have led the development program for an IV iron product. My co-founder Javier is an expert in biology and microfluidics, and we've assembled an amazing team and mentors with significant business, technical, and scientific experience to help us bring our vision to life. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and we look forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you, Heather. And you were 10 seconds ahead of schedule and really exciting stuff on a really important problem. So thank you for that. We're gonna, thank you and congratulations. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna, sorry about that, hold on. Great presentation. And we're gonna start with Jules Pieri.
Thank you, Heather. Two questions. First, could you educate us a little bit about the patient journey in terms of if diagnosis happens typically through the primary care physician, and once diagnosed and in treatment, does the condition tend to vary a lot where you need a constant or at least frequent update in terms of your response to treatment?
Yes, so the patient journey is basically what happened to me and what happened to several people on my team, which is that you may or may not have a physician actually tell you that you have anemia. You might have a blood test that actually goes unnoticed, or if your physician notices that you're anemia, what they will say is go take an iron supplement. When a person goes to go find an iron supplement, there's a plethora of different dosages with all these other ingredients that people don't know what to pick, and they don't know how long to take it for. So frequently the patient just picks whatever's on sale, picks whatever has the nicest label, and potentially is taking too much or too little iron. In my conversations with patients, I'm often surprised by how little patients actually know about what they're supposed to be doing and how long they're supposed to be taking it for. Your iron levels vary quite a bit from whether you eat a steak. It can go, that steak gets digested, the iron goes into your blood, to be turned into red blood cells and stored in your liver. But your iron levels can vary very significantly across different measures from hours to a year, just depending on which iron level you're talking about.
And one follow-on in terms of your initial pro forma, where do you make money? Is it the test? Is it the apps? Is it the supplements? I mean, obviously all, but what really matters to your business model?
Yeah, so they all work together in harmony. They're relatively low-cost components, but together they provide value together. So our paper-based diagnostic, from a COGS perspective, will be very inexpensive, but provides a tremendous amount of value, similar to a glucose test for diabetics, for example. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I did have one worry about leakage, because one of your statements in your deck was that it would be fine if the patient chose their own treatment, to source their own treatment. I wondered how important that would be to your financial success to lose the supplements.
Yeah, the supplement that we have right now would be commonly available. So we would just provide it and make revenue off that. We do have a longer term product plan to make our own supplement, but we're just not focused on that right now. So eventually in the future, that will be much more important to us.
Gotcha.
Could you speak a little bit about competition, other sort of broader spectrum diagnostic firms looking at including this? It seems like a compelling sort of business case that you have built. But I also worry that it seems like a great deal to measure one particular aspect of personal health. If there is a broader spectrum solution that seems to have a great deal, that would be really attractive.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the specificity of the iron treatment, I think one thing that we found from customers is that they really just want to treat their iron deficiency. It's a condition similar to diabetes. They don't necessarily want to have too many things thrown in there. So from a customer feedback perspective, they've really liked that we're very focused on iron deficiency. In terms of the competition, there are no apps that we know of that do what we do in terms of personalizing the dose and providing people a way to track their supplement. There are other diagnostic tests out there that are significantly more expensive than what we're doing in terms of at-home kits that you test your blood and then you have to send it away. Prices for those range from $60 to $140 to mail those away and get the results later, or you could get your blood tested at your doctor's office. So in terms of competition, we feel like we're offering something very novel individually with the app and our paper-based diagnostic, which will be very simple to use and provide an instant result, which is differentiating, and then together they are self-reinforcing for anemia.
Thank you very much.
Congrats. Last question, quick.
Very last question. Heather, Javier, congrats. Can you walk us through, like, how do you get the word out there? Like, people don't even know that there is a way to better treat that. How do you get the word out there over the next 18 months? Like, how do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm very excited to announce that we are sponsoring a professional triathlete. So that will be one of the ways is sponsoring athletes, social media, and working in partnerships with other types of athletic associations. I can't wait to have Ironman as one of our customers, where we can promote the brand. So direct-to-consumer social marketing, SEO, et cetera, will be our first path. I do believe that medical partnerships will be important to us in the future. IV irons cost $4,000 a vial, and that doesn't include the administration costs. So I think that payers and physicians will be very interested in our solution because of the clinical outcomes that we will provide, helping people deliver safely, et cetera, in addition to saving a tremendous amount of costs that are now going towards physician visits and IV iron costs.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you, Synthera Health. And as the judges process their scores around Synthera, let's meet our judge, Jules Pieri. Jules is an investment partner at X Factor Ventures and entrepreneur in residence emeritus at the Harvard Business School. And I certainly know her most from as being the co-founder and former CEO of Grommet, which was sold to Ace Hardware Corporation. She was named one of the 10 most powerful women entrepreneurs by Fortune magazine. She's the author of a great book, How We Make Stuff Now, that Inc. magazine called one of the 11 must-read books for entrepreneurs, and I heartily agree. And it's used as part of the core curriculum in many college entrepreneurship courses. She is on the board of the University of Michigan Alumni Association, providing merit scholarships for minority students and the digital transformation of this independent organization serving over 600,000 alumni. She studied industrial and graphic design at Michigan, where she graduated summa cum laude. She was the first designer to graduate from the Harvard Business School, where she also played on the soccer team. She grew up in Detroit, lived and worked in France and Ireland, 3 sons, and lives in Boston, an avid hiker, weaver, and activist for economic equality. Big thank you to Jules, really just a big fan. And with that said, I hope you are all ready for the next team, and I'm going to hand it back over to Carly.
Fantastic. We're moving right along. We're on to our second to last pitch of the night. So let's please welcome Ultra Neuro, which is building a wearable device to combat neuropathic pain. So over to Ultra Neuro's CEO, Sammy Jitan. Take it away, Sammy.
Good evening, everyone. We are Ultra Neuro, and we're going to put 100,000 smart sleeves on patients' arms by end of 2024. For 30 million Americans like Christine, the pharmaceutical approach just doesn't work. Christine has peripheral neuropathy, a condition where her nerves have degenerated to a point that her brain perceives her limbs as severed. But Christine is not alone. 1 in 10 people in the world experience neuropathic pain, including my own mother, and most agree on one thing. The top 3 first-wave drugs just don't work. Based on our own survey of 566 peripheral neuropathy patients, we found that half totally abandoned all of their medications. Put yourself in Christine's shoes. You're in constant level 9 pain, but because of side effects like brain fog, mood disorder, addiction, and depression, you stop taking your pain medication. So how do you solve someone's chronic pain without getting them addicted to opioids and without pharmaceutical side effects? Enter our solution. Using therapeutic ultrasound neuromodulation to treat neuropathic pain, Neuro will restore peripheral nerve activity in order to curb prescription drug intake and reduce debilitating side effects. Studies by our partners at Harvard have shown 20 minutes of ultrasound stimulation can result in up to 3 hours of nerve pain control using a single transducer. The way it works is by using low-intensity focused ultrasound, LIFU, on nerve clusters to block pain signals. The benefit of LIFU are 1, it's not invasive, 2, has no side effects, and 3, does not conflict with other medical care. Here's how we're going to put 100,000 sleeves on patients' arms in 3 stages. The first stage, we will optimize neural stimulation parameters to reduce treatment time down to 5 minutes for hours of relief. Second stage will be running clinical trials and implementing regulatory strategy to obtain FDA approval by partnering with design manufacturing firm 10x Beta. Finally, the third stage will be commercialization and scaling, selling to painful diabetic neuropathy patients, producing a smart sleeve built for lifestyle, prescribed by a physician, and reimbursed by insurance. Our target market is 50% of first wave treatment drugs that are abandoned by PN patients, estimated to be in excess of $3 billion every year and only expected to grow. Again, based on our survey of 566 patients, our value proposition was so compelling that 76.8% of those patients were willing to pay out of pocket if it reduces their pain by 50%, thereby eliminating future costs of medications down the line. Our product will retail for $7.99 and will require replacing a proprietary contract gel for focused ultrasound at $2 per use, changed twice a week. Now, there are other at-home ultrasound devices approved by the FDA on the market, but they use non-focused ultrasound in an approach called diathermy, meaning they use ultrasound to heat soft tissue. We're using Li-Fi neuromodulation, stimulating specific nerve clusters to treat neuropathic pain. We're building something truly innovative. So we will be filing with the FDA as a Class 2 de novo device, involving data collected from our clinical studies into those findings. With the MIT 100K prize money, it will provide a major impact as we achieve preclinical trial and use that data to optimize, secure, and prepare to scale our smart sleeve. We will engage partners to bolster our IP portfolio and get a head start on regulatory strategy while also completing design for manufacturing to product and scale. We are a team of serial entrepreneurs, neuroscientists, pain clinicians, and ultrasound engineers. And of course, who can forget our patient champion, Christine? One of our co-founders even launched 4,000 emergency ventilators for the COVID-19 pandemic, so we are very familiar with what it takes to launch a medical device. Thank you to our mentors and advisors. We are Neuro. Let's conquer pain together. Thank you.
Fantastic job. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's throw it to Sherry for our first question.
Thanks very much, Sammy. That was a lovely presentation. My dad had neuropathy, so I think that it's a powerful solution, and I wish you great luck. My question to you is, so how can it all go wrong? You have mapped out a great roadmap. Tell me what you're most worried about. Is it regulatory approval? Is it insurance? Is it something else?
Sure, you're absolutely right. I was inspired when Dr. Albert Kwan decided to join the team because he has gone through that hurdle in his emergency relief efforts for the COVID-19 pandemic. And if anyone get through it, it's him. And I want to turn the mic over to Albert to discuss.
Hi, thank you for the question. You're right in that for a de novo device to go through FDA approval, that's certainly a big risk that we have thought about. We consulted with 3 separate FDA consulting firms and determined that the de novo pathway would be the appropriate path. I think the important piece is designing a clinical trial that can align all the stakeholders that are involved in this field, not only the patients who want good outcomes, the doctors who want something that's low risk and good outcomes, the insurance company will want to contain cost and find something that's truly effective. So it's really important that we continue to work with our regulatory consulting partners and then build a very solid clinical trial that will yield really strong evidence.
Great. Thank you very much.
I can go ahead. This is Jules again. actually at the Grommet, we launched both Quell and Mighty Well. So this is a little bit familiar territory to me. And I am curious about the difference in the treatment techniques and technology from Quell. And then secondly, on Mighty Well, I think of them as a pretty small company still. So I was a little surprised. Maybe they've grown a lot since I last checked in, but as a distribution partner, it surprised me. So address my surprise, please.
Absolutely. I can take this question with the first point there. The benefit of ultrasound is that two things. One is depth of penetration into tissue, so we can actually target nerve clusters much deeper into the tissue than electrical stimulation. And second, it's the precision, the spatial and temporal precision of the ultrasound waveform that we're depositing, which really allows us to be wearable. It's very energy efficient in this case and effective by targeting specific nerves. And I'll forward the second part of the question to Sami.
Right. I've had really in-depth talks with Yusuf and the CTO of Mighty Well. And part of being at MIT is you talk to all these great founders and you explore potential opportunities. We want to hit the ground running. We want to be the first neurotech device that's out there to treat neuropathic pain. And what's interesting about Mighty Well is they have a captive market of cranial neuropathy patients that we believe that if we sell 1,000 devices, which would be presumably a low lift considering, like I mentioned in the presentation, the value proposition that we're delivering, we could potentially make a great dent in our journey to 100K.
Thank you.
I mean, can you just speak a little bit more to that? So maybe to what Jules was just asking as well. I'm trying to understand, this is a direct to consumer model and or like at an $800 price point for that initial device. And then it looks like a subscription in effect of about $10 a month, you know, if you have to replace the patch. Can you help me understand, is there a way to reduce the price up front, or what is that 75% of members of folks surveyed would actually purchase?
Oh, in relation to the 78.6%, right? So this was a median adjusted price sensitivity survey asking people what would be on a scale of 1 to 5, what would they like to, if they would like to purchase the smart sleeve and at what price. And based on the results of 566 patients, the results was $799 as the median adjusted price. I want to turn to Phil, who has also helped launch a medical device product, and he can talk about the COGS and how we came to that price.
Sure. You know, we took into account in our unit economics, accounting inventory, defect, sales expense, and headcount required for direct selling. With that, we're getting about 70% gross margin. If we went through Mighty Well, for example, we'd sacrifice 50% of that selling through that channel. That's still at the cost of $799. So our BOM for the device is quite low.
I'm going to pause us here because I know we're running a little bit behind, but thank you so much, team. And while the judges move into scoring for this team, we're going to get to meet our final judge of the evening, James Rhee. James is an impact investor, founder, CEO, and educator who empowers people, brands, and organizations to fulfill their true potential. As a senior leader of 2 Boston-based private equity firms, James helped manage billions of dollars of growth and distressed capital before ultimately founding Fire Pine Group, a platform that has stewarded the capital of some of the world's most sophisticated investors, as well as turning around Ashley Stewart as CEO, chairman, and investor. James holds teaching appointments in organizational systems at MIT Sloan, Duke Law School, and from 2021 to 2022, Howard University as the Johnson Chair of Entrepreneurship. He serves on multiple advisory boards and is a frequent speaker on impact and ESG investing, DEI, and principled leadership. James received his BA with honors from Harvard College and his JD with honors from Harvard Law School. He lives outside Boston with his wife and 3 children. Thank you, James, for being here.
Thank you, James, for all the great work that you're doing, and thank you so much for being a judge tonight. And now Believe it or not, we have made it to our final pitch for the night. Let's welcome VoltHub, a team revolutionizing the printed circuit board procurement process. Presenting the pitch will be Vincent, I want to say Beda, who is the founder of VoltHub with a background in contract manufacturing. Take it away, Vincent.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Vince, the founder of VoltHub. We are building the platform to streamline the procurement of printed circuit board manufacturing. Printed circuit boards, or PCBs, are highly complex electronic parts with hundreds of components that sit at the core of any electronic device. They are in electronic toothbrushes, phones, cars, rockets, you name it. The market has grown huge due to our increasing demand for more electronics. However, the infrastructure to source and manage the manufacturing process with all parties involved has become completely outdated. Imagine a PCB to be like this phone here, a complex device with hundreds of components. When a company such as Apple builds their new iPhone, they have to juggle through vendors to define and meet technical requirements and source all the components, all while optimizing lead times and budgets. Meanwhile, every vendor has to review and quote all those incoming requests faster than ever before to keep up with market demand. This process is highly manual, frustrating, and costly to both sides, and the PCB industry is no different. Hundreds of hours can be spent in the procurement process, making room for miscommunication and ultimately week-long delays impacting development and sales cycles. In such a massive industry, this leads to a huge preventable inefficiency. My co-founder and I have experienced the frustration and the cost of this process ourselves. I've worked with contract manufacturers and PCB development for the past 3 years before my MBA. My co-founder, who will join publicly this summer, has even more experience than I do and has ordered several thousand PCBs. Our market research over the past 2 years showed that buyers and vendors alike are desperate for a better solution. We have worked with them to develop VoltHub. VoltHub is a platform to efficiently find and collaborate between buyers and vendors to accelerate innovation of new electronic devices. VoltHub assists buyers throughout development by forecasting and warning of potential procurement issues so that when they are ready, they can collaborate with their vendors online to receive quotes and order faster than ever before. On the other hand, vendors receive pre-checked projects that fit their capabilities and are ready to be manufactured. We assist or even automate the reviewing and quoting process, allowing vendors to focus on the more complex customer needs. Ultimately, VoltHub aims to lower the effort, shorten the development and sales cycles, and return massive value to our customers by eliminating systemic inefficiencies. To reach this goal, it is crucial that both buyers and vendors can streamline the process on their end and work together. This is why we have built VoltHub from the ground up to consider both sides of the interaction and focus on efficient collaboration. Existing solutions have failed to do so. Procurement softwares used by buyers are customized, which prevent vendors from streamlining their selling process across multiple buyers. And on the other hand, the few vendors who had the financial means to develop ordering platforms for themselves lock in the buyers. We are the first company to provide these services to the masses and are offering it for free to the buyers. Only if buyers want to request quotes from a lot of vendors will we charge fees in order to prevent the total price war and spamming vendors. Vendors will be charged at a commission that adjusts to the order size, making sure that they don't lose their whole profit margin from big orders. With this business model, we are targeting small and medium-sized vendors who can use VoltHub to offer improved customer service and streamline their operation to compete with the titans in the industry. We aim to grow with those customers to capture a $1 billion opportunity and leverage our critical mass of buyers to expand our reach to bigger companies and adjacent markets. We are launching this June and planning a bigger scale pilot in August. With the support from MIT 100K, we aim to expand our team to better prepare for the expansion and fulfill our mission to streamline the procurement of PCB manufacturing and accelerate hardware innovation. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to answering any questions.
Excellent, Vincent. Just great on time and really interesting stuff, really down in the details. And to kind of dig into this a little bit more, we'll start with James Reed.
Vincent, great job. Congratulations. So 150,000 vendors, $9 billion market. So educate me a bit. Are there certain components of the PCB, certain vendors that you need to get on board for you to have to gain the momentum? Like how do you dissect the 150,000 vendors? What's the best way?
Absolutely. So we are starting by basically targeting our buyers with a free service, and then they can request quotes from their vendors. And if the vendors are not on the platform, they can request with an email address. And so those vendors will receive the whole project packaged by email, which will allow us to basically track down vendors that are most often used in VoltHub and sell them on the premium features that VoltHub can offer them. But at the very start, we really go towards the electronic manufacturers that combine some of those services that are needed and use APIs in order to connect with distributors to have some of the most used components already on the platform before all the vendors have to join.
Thank you.
Amazing presentation, Vincent. Extremely clear. Congrats. There was a lot of thinking put into it. How do we convince Avnet, Arrow, all the big vendors actually to jump on board and actually change the way they collaborate with their customers? Do you want to? Can you walk us through that?
Absolutely. I think so. For most of the bigger distributors, there are available APIs that we are actually already started to use in order to connect them on the platform. And we are more focused on the vendors that need to actually really be in-depth collaboration right from the start. So the PCB panel manufacturers or the assembly that needs to be done. And then moving on to the components that need also support. So based on certain more complex components, you need additional support and help in order to make sure that everything is connected well and working according to that component manufacturer. So basically, we are first starting with the panel and the assembly of components and just using APIs to get the component part aspect of the platform also on it for buyers right from the start, before then asking vendors to join manually as well.
So what we heard you say is they don't have to, you've already done all the hard work. Awesome.
This is amazing, right? I think this is it seems to be like an incredible opportunity that's been untapped, right? From a collaborative perspective. And so there seems that not a lot of barriers for you to be able to put the parts from the vendors. It's just enticing them to collaborate with their customers, no?
Yes, indeed. So we first were targeting directly the vendors, basically offering them a customer portal on their own website in order to sell, be more efficient with their sales cycles. However, this industry that has been very outdated and used to email and phones in order to do those transactions. And so therefore we are first going towards the buyers with a free service and leveraging a platform that already has their customers on it in order to go back to the vendors and sell them on a more with more value already there for them.
So is this kind of like the equivalent of like kind of bringing like AutoCAD online, like an Onshape or something like that?
We pivoted a bit away from actually really going into the design just to simplify and really focus on the procurement aspect. But we are definitely already looking into using APIs in order to connect to existing design tools so that the whole experience is as seamless as possible, both for the buyers and the vendors.
Got it. Sorry. So there's many steps in this journey and you're focusing just on the procurement. Got it.
So Vincent, congratulations on what you're building. It's one of the hardest things in the world, right? To successfully build a two-sided platform. Tell me a little bit about your pricing strategy. You say you focus on small and medium-sized vendors. $4,000 a month for one additional channel to be able to sell could be mighty expensive for a lot of small and medium-sized vendors.
That's true. So what we are looking at with those vendors are really that most of them have a part of their revenue that come from so-called high mix, low volume products, right? So they have a lot of smaller order size that have to come in order to fill like the capacity utilization and also lead to bigger contracts in the end. So VoltHub really targets this segment in order to deal with all the incoming quote requests that they receive and better be able to filter through them and really get the best deals that best fits their manufacturing line.
Okay, and on that note, we have come to the end of the pitch portion of this evening's 100K launch competition. Congratulations, Vincent. Congratulations to all of our teams. Before we turn to the deliberation stage, I wanted, along with Carly and along with the 100K team, to personally congratulate each of this year's finalists. We know the creativity, discipline, hard work, and initiative required to make it to this stage, and all of you have shown the best of what it means to be part of the MIT entrepreneurial ecosystem. So, our judges are now moving, I believe they have already moved, to a private virtual room to record their scores. And so we'll see them in just a bit. And we would love to be a virtual fly on the wall for that discussion, but we might actually have the better end of the deal with a fantastic keynote fireside chat. We are extremely lucky to be joined by one of the most impactful and inspiring entrepreneurs in the world, Payal Kadakia. As many of you know, Payal is the founder and executive chairman of ClassPass, a leading fitness and wellness membership. Since its launch in 2013, ClassPass has been valued over $1 billion, with members logging more than 100 million hours of workouts across 30,000 partner studios in actually, oh my goodness, 30 countries. It offers more than 50,000 digital classes per week, live stream, on demand, active at home, 2,000 companies through corporate wellness programs. Payal is also the founder and artistic director of the Sa Dance Company, founded in 2009, with the mission to increase awareness of Indian dance in the mainstream and serve as a platform for Indian American identity through movement. She has been featured in almost every major news outlet, has been listed as Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People, Fortune's 40 Under 40, ... She worked at Bain & Company, at Warner, before getting the entrepreneurship bug and starting ClassPass. And she, most importantly for this conversation, holds a Bachelor of Science degree in management from MIT. So without further ado, let's hear from Payal Kadakia.
Thank you so much for joining us for the MIT 100K launch finale. We're so thrilled to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Claire.
To kick off, where are you calling in from, and how are you and the ClassPass team doing?
Yeah, well, we're all over the world, but I am based in Los Angeles. So this has obviously been a very, unprecedented year, but at the end of the day, we've always actually been pretty remote given our geographic scale. So we were sort of used to the Google Hangout, Zoom conference meeting situation. So just doing that more and more today.
Could you tell us a bit about your path from undergrad at MIT to founding ClassPass? Where did the idea come from, and how did you get started building the company?
Yeah, I mean, it's always so interesting because when I was at MIT, obviously I, saw entrepreneurship all around me. I remember hearing about the 100K. I didn't necessarily think of myself as an entrepreneur during that time. I think that's what's always so interesting about it. I think, but the number one thing I always think about is when I was at MIT, I learned, I think, the most important skill, which was to problem solve. And, for me, when I was at MIT, when I worked at Bain after college, I always was finding a way to dance. And that was sort of this like intrinsic part of my life that was central to who I was. And as I kept getting older, I felt like it was this fight to keep dance in my life. And, one day I was looking for a class to take, and, I was always going to classes after work and I couldn't find a class. It was just sort of this disaster of a search on the internet at the time. And it was really crazy because I realized technology can solve this. And more importantly, I felt like I could give what dance was in my life to so many other people.
Could you tell us what was one of the most challenging experiences in your career as an entrepreneur so far, and one of the most thrilling moments?
There are many ups and downs. I feel like in the earliest phases, I think I felt them the most. And I think in the beginning, I would say one of the toughest times was we built, a product that we thought was going to work. We probably spent close to $500,000 building it. I sort of had taken like an open table like model for classes and just thought it was going to work when I launched it. And especially because I had, gotten into a top-notch incubator and I had funding and we were getting press. I just thought hey, like I did it, and it's, you know, I built this product and there's classes to search for and people are just going to go to class. And that is not what happened. And no one went to class. And it was a really hard time to sort of come to terms with this idea of the fact that I didn't have product market fit. And I also didn't build an MVP, right? Which is a minimal viable product for my product. And I realized that, you know, I wasn't solving a problem at that time. I was just building a product. And I think what that really got me to do was become very, very focused on how do I get someone to class? Like that's the only thing that matters. It's not about building a beautiful homepage and building this like spectacular UI for someone to go. It was really about building this motivational value proposition for someone to go to class. And, you know, I think eventually when we pivoted and, you know, we tried different models, it took us 3 years, but we got there. And on the other side of it, if you really want to talk about like what brings me the most joy, you know, I remember that first reservation that went through. And I remember after, you know, feeling that sense of, you know, the silence when no one went to class for all those years, when that was the mission. I remember the first time someone booked it, and I just remember being like, oh my God, they booked a $30 class, and it made my heart just so full of joy. And I think, you know, now when we're 100 million reservations later, like I still feel that, because I feel like I gave somebody something that was so special. I gave them an hour of their life that I know that they can enjoy, right? And that they're at class and probably not on their phone, and sort of, you know, getting a good workout in and connecting with themselves. So, you know, for me, it really came down to the product. That's been the most joyful part of it for me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You mentioned in the beginning, in the early days, it was hard to find that product market fit. And there was that deafening silence when no one's signing up and you've built this product. How did you motivate yourself to keep moving forward? I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience today who are going to face that situation, and it's going to be so easy to want to give up, but you have to find a way to keep moving forward.
That is honestly the most important question. And I think really what makes an entrepreneur, because it is that resilience, right? And that fuel that gets you through moments like that comes from starting your company for a reason you're really passionate about. And I think if you don't really care, like if you're just more into it being a product, or more into, you know, having a title or raising money to like put something on your resume, like startups don't work like that. You know, they're like infants in their early days. And of course I'm a new mom, so like I totally understand it now in a way where it's like a 24/7 job. And you have to be so connected into really problem solving, going through the ups and downs. There are highs, but by the way, like they disappear, they last a moment and they're gone. And it's the same thing with the lows, you know. But what gets you to keep going and is that sense of I'm doing something. I have a mission that's going to keep me connected to this, and keep me fighting, keep me dreaming, keep me going on those, you know, days where you're just so exhausted and haven't slept, right? And I think if you don't really have that, it becomes more of like, oh, I'm doing this, you know, to check some box or for some other reason. And the heart of it is the most important in getting through those problems.
Right. Have mentors or investors or anyone else played an important role for you as you're navigating these difficult times? And how do you recommend early entrepreneurs find these advisors or mentors or friends who are going to help them get through the tough times?
Yeah, you know, people have been critical to my journey. I think different parts of the journey have been filled with different types of mentors, advisors, and a different network. And, you know, the earliest days, you know, a lot of it was the network I had, whether it was from MIT, from Bain. I was reaching out to the people I knew, telling them about, you know, this idea I had. I mean, one of my favorite stories is the day I quit my job, like my real corporate job, to really pursue this, I sent an email out, you know, to everyone being like, hey, I'm going to go do something entrepreneurial. At the time, I didn't fully know what I was going to do, but the vice chairman of my company, you know, called me to his office and was like, tell me what you're doing. And he was like, I want to invest, here's a $10,000 check. And I realized like in that moment, how powerful, like having something you really care about is, and then your network, right? And I think, you know, your network of people who have seen you work, and obviously if you have the credibility, which you earn by doing good work, which like I felt for me, like going to a good school, I worked at a good company, I always made sure I did great work no matter what I did. I was building that network. And I think as ClassPass grew, obviously I met more investors. It was definitely an interesting thing, because as the company got bigger, obviously we had more attention, and then everyone was sort of coming to us. And that was also more important for me to say, wait a second, like, it's not about going with like an A-list, VC. It's really about finding the people that are going to really care about this to take this to the next level.
It sounds like you learned a lot in the early days about how to handle challenges and push through the tough times. More recently, over the past year, I think many people and companies have been going through difficult times with COVID and the ongoing pandemic. And I'm curious, how did you push through over the past year, and how has ClassPass adapted?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it was getting people to continue, obviously, to stay active, right? That was one part of it. And then the second part of it, which is really critical as well, is our partners. I mean, they have like these fixed cost businesses. Without them, forget about even the time during the pandemic. It was about helping them even just stay alive through it, so they could be on the other side. So we tried to do a lot of different tactics for them, whether it was raising money for them, having donations so we could send money to our partners. And we really, within like a week's notice, I think my team is incredible. We put up a whole live stream video product, so people could go to classes all the time. We have 50,000 classes a week that people can take from home, that's connected to our partners, and some of them are even ones that people can pay for, which once again brings revenue to our partners. I mean, we're looking forward to the world coming back to its normal state. I think we're seeing some good signs of that, so we're looking forward to that. And every indication that we've seen has shown us that people are excited to get back into class. So we're excited to kind of keep going into that. And on the other end, it's also given us a chance to sort of take a step back and focus in on our product and what we really want to do, and sort of think about our team, especially diversity, which has become such a big topic as well. So, I think there are benefits that definitely came out of this year. Obviously, like it's not been great in terms of having to, have people not go to class and sort of, do what we're used to. But at the end of the day, I think it was about getting through this so we can go back to, living our mission with our customers and partners.
Well, I'm glad it sounds like ClassPass's partners are starting to come back, and the workout industry is starting to recover after this very tough time. I'm curious, are you seeing any new trends in the health and wellness industry that you're excited about over the next couple of years?
I mean, I think, this is this is going to be a moment where everything changes, because I've always thought about the company as building a new habit in people's lives. And then the world changed. And as we go back into our normal lives and go back out and discover the world in our neighborhoods, we're all going to be creating new behaviors, So yes, like I think during the pandemic, a lot of people obviously found amazing ways to work out at home, get bikes, get treadmills, whatever it might be. I do think there's going to be a sense of like a hybrid model that happens where people now feel comfortable working out at home because it's sort of forced that relationship. And then they'll also be going out to doing things. But I think it's too early to tell. And I think, we always look at the data. We look at what our customers do instead of prescribing, this is what you have to do. I think it's really about all of us stepping back. And I think this is going to happen across all industries, is consumer philosophies and behaviors are just going to fundamentally change. And I think there's going to be a lot of new products that, come out of this period, that will last a really long time. The same way we saw things come out in the beginning of the pandemic, like, we're all on Zoom, right? These things are going to happen as we push forward into this, post-pandemic era.
You mentioned consumer preferences changing, and I'm curious if you've also seen changes in what investors are looking for. I think many companies that go through the MIT 100K are looking to fundraise, if not right after launch, then, over the next few months or year. And I'm curious if you've seen any changes in fundraising markets and what investors are looking for, and what has been the focus of conversation there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the appetite has remained. I feel like people know that this is such an innovative time period. I bet you like some of the greatest companies would have been developed during this pandemic era, right? Because it was this moment where people, like I said, got a second to sort of slow down and focus and build for the future, you know? So I've seen the appetite sort of really, you know, be the same as I've always seen it. I think there is obviously like an increased attention on obviously there was on digital products per se, but once again, like I think the world is going to change in 6 to 12 months, that we're going to end up being focused on like experience driven and travel driven companies. So I think everything is just going to be industry specific based on how consumer behavior keeps trending.
Got it. Thank you. Well, we are running short on time. So as a final question for you, this feels like a very pivotal time, and I'm curious if you have any advice to share with the many entrepreneurs sitting in the audience. Are there any lessons learned over the past year, or just overall over your entrepreneurial career, lessons learned that you would share at this pivotal time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think being an entrepreneur is one of the greatest things you can do in your life, and it's one of the hardest, but at the same time, like, it is so rewarding if you genuinely care about the problem you are solving, right? There are different types of entrepreneurs in the world, and I consider myself an inventor. And I think for folks at MIT, I feel like we think of invention in a different way. And I consider myself an inventor. So I really would think of it as, what value are you creating in the world? What are you inventing for, you know, to impact people's lives for good?
Thank you so much, Payal.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us for the MIT 100K launch finale. We're so
Okay, congratulations. That was an excellent conversation and a really lovely message to end on, and one I absolutely agree with in terms of you know, the opportunity that all students at MIT have to go solve big and important problems, and you know, trying and going through the journey is really the fun part, the challenging but the fun part, as Scott and I both know and have the privilege of watching students try every day. So I think our judges are still in deliberation, and I just wanted to take a minute while the judges are still in deliberation to congratulate the 100K team, in particular Sam, Tierno, and Claire, and to Claire for facilitating that wonderful conversation. You know, I, as an organizer of many programs for the Trust Center myself, I know what goes into organizing a logistical challenge like tonight, especially in this virtual environment. So congratulations to the team and the whole rest. I know there's many more faces that help with the 100K. So congratulations on you know, the conclusion tonight, and to all the hard work that I know goes throughout the entire year. You know, it's quite a feat.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to, you know, pick up on something from that. I thought that was just a wonderful conversation. And I just wanted to pick up on one piece that Payal said right at the end, was that we know that there's going to be just this explosion of entrepreneurship. We already see that actually in the high level statistics. There's just a real quantum shift in the role that entrepreneurship is playing coming out of the pandemic. And in particular, I think one thing that I always love about this event is that everyone that is watching this, every single team here started just last year. This is a one-year process. Every single year we do it again. And so if you have an interest, if you have an idea, if you have the beginnings of a team, start now and then just see that rhythm throughout the year. And I know Carly, you'll see Carly at T=0 in the early fall, where the entire team from the Trust Center and our entire ecosystem really kind of introduces that rhythm. But I just want to bring it back to you, Carly, now that I see that our judges are back.
Yeah, it's true. We start all over again in September, and it's a really exciting cycle to get to watch. It's a privilege. So tonight, getting back to the main event, we'll be presenting two main prizes. The second place team will be receiving $25,000, And of course, the Robert P. Goldberg Grand Prize winners will receive $100,000. And again, the 100K is driven by students in all of their passion. And I really do want to thank, again, the three organizers that we're working with tonight, Sam, Tierno, and Claire. Congratulations, and very looking forward to hearing the winners.
Thanks, Scott and Carly, so much for helping us host this year's MIT 100K competition. And thank you to our finalists tonight for presenting the amazing work you've been doing. We'd also like to once again thank our sponsors, Akamai, Goodwin, Morgan Lewis, Wolf Greenfield, Mintz, and Sidan. We'd also like to call out that we noticed the webcast was initially not showing one of our sponsors, Mintz, so we just wanted to say a special thank you to Mintz for all of your support. Now to announce the winners. The second place team, who will be receiving $25,000, is Mach 9 Robotics.
Congratulations, Mach 9 Robotics. And
Thank
now,
you so much. Sorry.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah, I just like a special shout out to Lori Stack from MIT Launch. When I was 7 years ago, in fact, I met Scott Stern, who probably never remembered who I was because I was a person in an audience. And it definitely started a dream to start a company and bring a lot of really, really smart technologists together to really solve interesting problems. So we definitely appreciate your support, especially as we're taking this to the next level and starting to really build really interesting technology in Boston and the United States, and ideally for the world as well. So I definitely super appreciate it.
Absolutely. Congratulations again, Mach 9. And now for the final and largest prize of the night, which is named for Robert P. Goldberg. Robert graduated from MIT in 1965 and received a PhD from Harvard in 1973. Robert and his wife, Judy, married in 1969. Robert loved MIT, and entrepreneurship was in his DNA. After founding and taking BGS Systems public, Robert returned to MIT as a visiting scholar at the Sloan School. Here, he developed a course in entrepreneurship and mentored MIT students for what was then the MIT 10K competition. Robert was exceedingly generous in the community, and that generosity has been mirrored by his family. His children and wife, Judy, felt that funding the 100K competition was an appropriate and worthwhile memorial to his entrepreneurial spirit. We're so proud to honor his memory with this award. Without further ado, the Robert P. Goldberg Grand Prize winner is Team Osmosis. Team Osmosis, you're the winner.
Oh my, this is fantastic. I mean, we would never expect something like this. Is such an honor, and it's such a great feeling also to be representing the clean tech industry kind of and startup, because we know it's a very tough journey, but we know that it's something incredibly important, and there needs to be startups and people that want to do this and want to really create the future for this infrastructure. So thank you so much for trusting us. It's just amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you all the team and all the people that helped us this year. It was just an amazing experience so far. I cannot even think of how the future will be from now on. Thank you so much for trusting in us, for your trust.
Congratulations, Team Osmosis. That's very
Thank you.
And thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening and making it a night to remember. We want to thank our keynote speaker, our judges, our sponsors, our hosts, Carly and Scott, and most importantly, our competitors for their fantastic presentations. Take care and good night.